So I'll click record. And thank you again, all of you, for being here this morning. And this is the training for the self-assessment and the strategic support plan for this year's RDA process for bilingual ESL and other special populations. And when we refer to other special populations, we refer to students experiencing homelessness, foster care, and military connected. And this is our team, the Special Populations Compliance Team. Ricky Santillana was not able to attend today's meeting, but I have with me my two colleagues, and I'll give them the opportunity to introduce themselves. Mara?
Good morning, everyone. Mara Betancourt Coker. I'm so happy to be here with you. Thank you for taking some time out of your really busy day to listen to our presentation.
And good morning, I'm Dr. Patricia Quesada, and thank you very much for joining. And I hope that you walk away learning a lot of information today. Welcome.
Thank you, colleagues. And my name is Raul Alvarado, and I am one of the Special Populations Compliance Specialists for this division. And we also have other teammates across the agency that are still responsible for monitoring or helping out with emerging bilingual support. And these are their names: Xochitl Rocha, Michelle Merrick, and Amy Johnson. So you can always reach out to them also. And I noticed on the chat we have someone that said that you are not hearing any sound. Can please somebody say, tell us if you can actually hear us? Okay, thank you. Thank you for the thumbs up, hearts, and everything. Thank you very much. So we'll continue with today's presentation. This is a legal disclaimer. This presentation is intended solely to provide general information and guidance to Texas school systems. And as you can see, it is subject to change as a result of future guidance and other updates. So this is just a disclaimer for the attendees. And these are some of the acronyms that we regularly use for our programs. Again, we'll give you a copy of this. You do not need to write all of them down. And this is the objective for today's presentation. Participants will be able to explain the required LEA activities in the bilingual education and OSP self-assessment process and determine quality levels using the bilingual and OSP self-assessment documents, and explain and complete the steps of the bilingual and OSP self-assessment, analyze sources of evidence, and complete the bilingual and OSP self-assessment. As you can see, we have the agenda in front of us. We will be going over program monitoring and support, the self-assessment process of the bilingual and OSP, the components, the Ascent platform. This is the platform you will be using for everything, which is the self-assessment, the SSP, the supporting documentation, and then what are the next steps. And then at the end of the meeting, we will give you an opportunity to ask any questions, and we should have enough time to hopefully answer all of them. Now I'll pass it on to Mara. Or is it still me?
And so here in the Division of Special Populations Monitoring, what we're here for today is to look at that portion of the monitoring that comes from the determination levels from the RDA. So that's the main focus of today. So specifically, we will be looking at bilingual education, English as a second language, what constitutes the emergent bilingual, and as Raul explained earlier, the other special populations, which is the areas of our students who are experiencing homelessness, covered under McKinney-Vento, families that are military connected, and foster care students. As you know, RDA, the results-driven accountability, helps us take that data and the indicators from the performance and student outcomes, and each one of you will have you've had time to go into your reports and look at your determination levels. Each as you know, each school district, school system has been assigned an annual determination level, and that one is aligned with specific monitoring and supporting activities. And so this is the first of those supporting monitoring activities, today's training, and we will go into detail about what the next steps are. The determination levels are calculated based on an overall analysis of indicator results. You're all familiar with the documents. There's also a manual. The manual has all the formulas by which RDA determines the determination levels.
Thank you, Mara. And all of you have access to the RDA report. If you Google results-driven accountability or RDA report, you should be able to look at not only yours, but other LEA's reports. And we always recommend to look at the report before starting the SSP. That way you know where you need to target or which areas you need to target the most. And this is the program area target monitoring. And as you can see, this training is mandatory for DL3s and DL4s. And it is optional for DL1s and DL2s. If you decide to complete the SSP, you keep it at the district level. For determination level 3s and determination level 4s, you need to complete the self-assessment, you need to complete the strategic support plan, and you will be needing to submit supporting documentation regarding the activities that you have chosen for this year's SSP.
We will look into the first component, which is the self-assessment. And so the self-assessment process is meant to assist your LEA's leadership teams in evaluating and improving the programs for which you were identified in the determination level. So whether it is the bilingual ESL or the OSP programs. And it is recommended that each LEA completes the self-assessment, like Raul said, whether you're DL1 or 2, that could be kept at the district level. However, LEAs that were identified with DL3 and 4 status are required to complete the self-assessment for the TA submission. So if your LEA was identified for bilingual ESL, that's the one self-assessment you'll be completing. If you were identified for OSP, you would fill in the OSP. And if you happen to be identified for both, then you would be responsible for both self-assessments. We're here to assist you and your leadership teams in evaluating, but mostly to improve those programs supporting special populations. We want to engage your leadership teams through a proactive approach, making sure that we're solving and getting ahead and addressing those special populations, and finally improving student performance, those student outcomes. That's ultimately what we're all here for. It is completed annually as part of the Texas Commitment to Continuous Improvement, and you will see starting next year, all LEAs will be required to complete the self-assessment as part of our monitoring, not just as part of RDA. You might be asking yourself, who's my district leadership team, the DLT membership? And it will vary depending on the size of your LEA. It will depend on how you are structured within your upper leadership. So all the people that could be part of this team would be the special population program directors or coordinators, central office staff that touch the budget or that make decisions regarding these programs, campus administrators. If you have bilingual campuses that are really big, maybe that would be one of your people involved. Bilingual education or ESL teachers, they have a lot to contribute. And ultimately, they're the ones who are boots on the ground. So it would be worth including them in your leadership team. It could be composed of special education teachers, gen ed teachers, related services personnel, or even assessment people in the district. and why not parents? The bilingual education and English as a second language state framework, we have three big prongs. So it would be implementation. And when you go into the self-assessment, you'll see the questions are chunked by these three groups. It's implementation, engagement, and student outcomes. And we have several areas in which we will ask questions regarding your LPAC procedures, what kind of participation there is from the community, how you evaluate your programs, whether you're aligned with ELPS, state assessment results, staffing and professional development to support these programs, stakeholder activities, and the program model you use, and the fidelity that you use it with. So this wheel, the diagnostic framework, supports our agency and your LEA in analyzing and responding to the information, the complex information about program implementation, outcomes, and engagement. We are looking forward to continuous improvement. That's the goal. There's always room for improvement, and always looking forward to increasing those student outcomes. But ultimately, we know these are all relying on connecting instruction, student performance, and professional development. And we're here also for the technical assistance portion. So other special populations. Like we mentioned before, OSP includes indicators that are used to measure and ensure the academic success of our students who are identified as OSP, which are students in foster care, students who experience homelessness, and military-connected students. All the monitoring activities will also align to the continuous improvement activities, and we will make sure they're aligned to those determination levels by which you were identified to be here today, and support you in that way. So the self-assessment is organized once you go into Ascend, and Raul will walk us through the Ascend platform later today. You will notice that there are 3 domains by which the self-assessment is organized. Again, it's implementation, student outcomes, family engagement, and you will see that whether you're doing the OSP or the BE side, there's always going to be a probing question. That would be the first element you will find. Then it will ask you for sources of evidence. And sources of evidence would be anything you would think you have in your possession, in your documentation, that you know that speaks to that probing question. And again, it will vary because you all have different structures within your organization, and we might have districts that are very small and one person will wear many hats, and we have school districts that have several people touching this data. So the sources of evidence will come together depending on how you're structured. And then the quality of implementation level. You will self-determine, you will self-assess how you are implementing each one of these questions. And then finally, you will write a justification statement. And the justification statement will speak to how you do things, how you structure things, and what else do you want us to know that speaks to that specific probing question. Again, each probing question will have this same structure. Please keep in mind that probing questions are meant to help you and your leadership team consider all the practices related to that specific item. They are designed to assist your team in having those robust conversations. It's not just a check the box, keep going. It is really meant to engage you in those deep conversations so you can improve your practices and touch more students in that manner. It will help you and your team determine the quality level of the performance category. So let's say this year you determine you are developed. Well, next year you want to be proficient. I know you do. But if you're already proficient, maybe you want to go to that next level. So it all depends on how you self-assess. And once you read all the items that would be required for you to have that self-assessment rating, then you know what's expected from the rating above. For the area of implementation in the probing questions for bilingual and ESL, we have we're asking that you have a clearly articulated mission for bilingual education. So that would be one thing to get ahead of if you don't have your mission and your vision for that language acquisition or the languages department. Start working on that, because that will be a big part of how we continue moving forward. And it has to be consistent with the Texas Administrative Code, TAC, and also the Texas Education Code, TEC. You know, those are our guides and consolidated set of practices and procedures that translate your vision into action. So if you have a department manual, that's great. If you already have a mission and vision, that's wonderful. Now look at whether or not they're aligned with TAC and TEC. For other special populations, we want you to think about how do you ensure that homeless families, children, and the unaccompanied youth receive referrals for health services, dental services, you know, getting them glasses if they need them, mental health, substance abuse services, housing services, and any other appropriate services that are covered under McKinney-Vento Act. Under student performance for the bilingual ESL, we want to make sure that you review the identified emergent bilingual students' performance and how they compare to the rest of the general population. And use that data to modify or adjust your curriculum, how you instruct, and then ultimately the assessment. For the OSP side of things, we want to make sure that you utilize the student data to identify and implement those academic interventions and provide the support services to ensure that our, let's say, our military connected students achieve grade level standards on mandated assessments, promote to grade level, and graduate on time. And we will do the same for McKinney-Vento and our other students that are at risk. For probing questions in the engagement portion, the last portion, we want to make sure that you have open communication with your emergent bilingual families, that you involve them, and that you're taking their views as part of your continuous improvement. For the OSP portion, we want to make sure that you're collaborating and including the child's education decision maker or their caregiver, or their caseworker, and any other relevant people that are involved in their education. Anywhere where you would typically consider a parent, you know, this specific population may not have that typical parent figure, but we want you to keep those special adults in the decision making. And again, as I mentioned before, when we ask you to click or check boxes in the sources of evidence, we will give you some examples of what these sources of evidence could be based on our experience. However, there's always going to be a little box that says other for you to explain if you want to include some other source of evidence. We want you to make sure that you're very honest and open and accurately completing your program self-assessment, because again, this is an exercise of reflection. We are not assessing whether or not you are exemplary in everything or proficient in everything. We want you to use this again as a tool for growth. For each strategy area, your leadership team will select resources that will be reviewed in order to select the quality level. So you have that decision. If you want to include, again, your program manual as a source of evidence for several of the questions, that would be appropriate because your manual will include most of the processes that you use for one or the other program. Some examples could be a policy that you have already been approved by the board, written procedures, forms that you commonly use, checklists, if you have cross checks and you have a checklist by which you do these cross checks, training artifacts, whatever that could be. How you will rate the quality of the implementation level is each section of the one or the other self-assessments will include several performance categories. And that will guide your leadership team when you're considering the quality of implementation that you have before selecting a final quality level. So for each one of the performance categories, you will select the quality of implementation. So in one question, you might self-assess as developed, whether in others you will probably be proficient. So there's not like it's not like you will choose one level for all the questions. You will go question by question and determine how you self-assess. There are 3 quality levels. It's the developing, then the proficient, and the exemplary, in that order. If the LEA is in doubt of whether your performance falls in one or the other, we recommend that you select the quality level where you can demonstrate all the elements. We have descriptions of what constitutes proficient, what constitutes developing, and what exemplary looks like. So if you're in between, we know you will have a few questions where you feel like you're in between. This is our recommendation. Choose the one where you know you check all the components. And your aim would be moving into the next one. And we know year by year you will improve. In the justification statement, this is where you and your leadership team will write a brief justification that will explain what your strengths are and then the needs considered by the team. You should include enough detail for us to be able to understand what you already have in place and what you want to implement in the future. And also to support your leadership team. It's documentation for all your leadership team to know and document what else you'll be working on when you work in the strategic support plan. And that way we will address your need for continuous improvement. I think we duplicated this slide. My apologies. We have a video of the bilingual and ESL and OSP self-assessment. We will share this presentation with all participants, and you will have the link in the presentation. It's a short, I believe it's a 4-minute video that we recorded that walks you through every step while in the self-assessment. We explain how you click on the different questions, how you go into the rating, and then how you do the justification statement, how to submit, all the things. Again, it's very short and you will have access to that. I'll leave you with Raul.
Thank you, Mara. And just as a clarifying, or just to clarify, because some people are asking about the presentation, I know Mara stated already, but we are going to be emailing this presentation to all of the people that registered for the training. And we will be adding a few other resources that may be useful for this process. And as Robert asked, if you participated in the field test, you will not be required to um, respond to the self-assessment again because you completed the self-assessment for this year. And regarding next year self-assessment requiring for everyone, we will let you know, but we are possibly aiming for fall for August for the self-assessment for next year. All right, so these are some of the resources that we have for LEAs to access. And again, we will be providing this presentation and the links, the guide, and then the self-assessment. If you like to print the copy, you can print it here and pass it to your colleagues. And the same for the OSP. Very important, the Ascend platform. If you do not have access to Ascend or Teal, please make sure that you are requesting access. You will be asking your LEA internal access. And then after you are approved by the LEA, the agency will approve access to you. So first you need to get access by the LEA in order for us to approve you. And by us, I mean the agency, not Mara, Doctora Quesada, or me. And we will provide you a document that will help you on accessing Teal if you need some guidance. Again, this will be sent after the presentation. So the Ascend platform, we have the resource requirements. You can also download the guide and the self-assessment in there. Very important. We have the file transfer section. That's where you will be uploading the supporting documentation for the activities that you have selected for this year's SSP. And you have also the self-assessments in there, the bilingual and the OSP. Again, you will only have to respond to the one that you are being monitored this year for RDA. And we will be opening the self-assessments later this week. So if you log in, you may not see them yet, but by Friday, you should have all of you access to the self-assessment. As a reminder, the self-assessments are not due until April the 24th. So please just work on the strategic support plan and then on the self-assessment. Also, the strategic support plan is found in Ascend. The other areas are mainly for special education. Now, the strategic support plan. This is how the strategic support plan is composed. You will first review the sources of data. We always recommend to look at the RDA report for you to know which areas you need more improvement. Then you identify your areas. Let's say you need help or more work in TELPAS Composite, you will aim at activities regarding TELPAS Composite. Then develop your problem statement, and you need to be analyzing why this occurred, and then the goal that you are striving to achieve for this year. Let's say you want to improve passing score in English 1 by 2%. That could be a goal for that particular area if you are striving to improve in English 1. Then develop strategies for implementation and the activities that you will be using to improve in, for example, English 1. Okay. Then you monitor and report progress. That is by having the follow-up meetings. We will be having follow-up meetings with DL3s and DL4s, and you will be expected to submit supporting documentation regarding the activities again that you have chosen for this year. This is the Ascend platform. You need to first get access to Ascend. Then you launch the application, and then you select support plans. As you can see, it is pretty self-explanatory, but you have it in there, support plan. I'm sorry, this is the wrong year. Make sure you are in the 25-26 school year, and then you click on support plans. And we'll correct this before we send you the presentation. You will initiate a new support plan. Okay, you select the region, select the LEA, which is your LEA, the year, and then you create the support plan. You have the support plan, then you will select the priority areas. After you click here, you will see different priority areas, some for OSP, some for bilingual, and then you will be choosing the ones that your LEA needs some work on. Then, again, you select the priority areas. For example, passing rate math, if you have a performance level of 3, 4, or even a 2, we highly recommend that you work on those. Reading, and then you will scroll down the screen to locate the priority areas for either bilingual or OSP. And then after selecting the priority areas, scroll down the next screen and click Next. Then after selecting the priority area, pressing Develop Problem Statement, then you will now start with the SSP process. You basically click on something, answer, then you go to the next one, and then click next, next, and next. So it's step by step. Click here on the individual priority area to start the SSP process, and LEAs will now complete each step of SSP process as seen on the screen. Okay, so you'll work on the priority area, then develop a problem statement for that priority area, then a root cause analysis for that one, then a goal for that particular priority area, and then the activities for that particular priority area. We recommend to have maybe 2, 3 priority areas depending on the RDA report that you have. So here is where you enter your problem statement. You select the level of urgency depending on your results, and then you submit the problem statement. And you will repeat this process if you have 2 or 3 priority areas. LEAs are not required to upload documentation right now for the strategic support plan. These instructions will be provided during the January meeting, so please do not upload any documents right now. SSP documentation will be submitted through the file transfer section in the Ascend platform, and again, we'll be providing some guidance during the January meeting on how and where to upload the supporting documentation. So no documentation is required at this time. Once you are ready, you may submit the strategic support plan, and you may revise it even after you have submit the strategic support plan. And please do your best, and we will review it together during the initial meeting. And if we need to make any changes, we will give you the opportunity to make any changes. Now, the supporting documentation, as we stated, you will be required to submit supporting documentation for every activity that you have submitted. If you have 10 different activities, we expect at least 10 different documents. Okay, so by the end of the process, we should have at least one document that relates to the activity that you have selected. And this is the file naming convention that you will be using. For example, if we have a meeting May the 20th, we expect for you to put the date of the meeting as part of the naming convention. You can write Raul ISD, and if you are monitored for bilingual, you'll write bilingual ESL RDA and the date of the meeting. Now, uploading the supporting documentation, again, we will provide a PDF that looks exactly the same as this. So again, it is very important for you to have access to Ascend. Then you will go to the file transfer section. This one is also pretty much self-explanatory. Upload the documentation, and then you'll be selecting the program that you are being monitored for. And then you add the documentation. I think you can drag them or you can choose them from a file. and then you click upload. Again, if you have any trouble uploading the documentation or completing the SSP or the self-assessment, please reach out. We are definitely here to help. Again, this is the file transfer section. This is a sample of one of the documentation. As you can see, we have for bilingual supporting documentation, and then the name of the LEA, and then for OSP, you have a different checkbox for OSP and bilingual. So the next steps. These are some of the resources that you have at your disposal. As Mara stated, we have a manual here. You can go to the RDA overview page. You will find a lot of useful resources. Also, our website, the strategic support plan overview, and then the TL login ascent. And this is our email. If you have any questions, please reach out via email to us. And we do our best to respond within a few hours, the latest, hopefully 24 hours, business hours. Something very important, if you have not submitted your contact information, as you can see, we had 70 responses when we took this screenshot. Please make sure you submit your contact information. That way, if we need to reach out to you, we'll do that through the contacts that were provided in this contact information, because we based our emails and contacts in the ASTED, but they may not be updated. So please make sure to send the contact information form. Something also very important, all of you need to meet with us in January for the initial meeting. So please, you will be clicking on the link. This link was also provided in the initial email, and make sure that you book your initial meeting with us. It will be over the strategic support plan, okay? And we'll make any edits if needed during the meeting. So please make sure that you have booked your meeting with us. It's only one per LEA. And after you book your meeting, please make sure to forward this link to anyone that needs to be present to the meeting. Again, the initial meetings, this is the time frame for the initial meetings. We have a month to meet with DL3s and DL4s. Again, this is mandatory for DL3s and DL4s, and please exclude these dates. And then for DL4s, we will be meeting again in February. And we'll send another link we'll provide you a link during the initial meetings for you to be able to book the rest of the meetings, which are the follow-up meetings. Then in March, we will be meeting again with DL3s and DL4s. And then the final meetings for DL3s and DL4s will be in May. So basically, DL3s, we will be meeting in January, March, and May, bi-monthly meetings. Then DL4s, we will be meeting on a monthly basis. DL4s, January, February, March, April, and May. And just as a reminder, the self-assessment is due April the 24th. And the strategic support plans are due December the 19th. So we highly recommend that you start working on the strategic support plans first. And this is just a quick timeline of the RDA process. All of you received the notification letters in November. Then we are here in the training. And again, the strategic support plan is due December the 19th. All of the initial meetings will be held in January, and then the follow-up meetings from February to May. Again, the self-assessment is due April the 24th. If you participated in the field test, you do not need to complete another self-assessment. And now, this is the contact information, again, for you to reach us. And we highly encourage you to take this survey, because we really like your feedback. We strive to continue improving our processes. So please feel free to take this survey. And now, probably the most important part, we'll give you time for questions, madam.
We have several questions in the chat. So one of the big questions is, I scheduled our meeting but never received calendar invite for confirmation. If you did the booking through the bookings page, bookings should have sent a confirmation email following up, and you would have an email, a calendar marker in your calendar. It wouldn't be an invitation from us, and it wouldn't be a reply from Raul, me, or Dr. Quesada. It would have come from SPM. So we can check that. We have another question about the due date for December 19, and that's for the SSP, correct, Raul?
December 19 for the strategic support plan, correct?
Yes, so the SSP is what's due on December 19th.
And if you did not receive an initial email from us, it's because we did not see your name in ASTED. So that's why we highly recommend, or we request LEAs to complete the contact form. That way we have the pertinent people there, the program area, the DCSI, or anyone that needs to be reached out for this process. So please, somebody from the LEA needs to complete the contact form.
So what I will do is type in the link to that form as the answer to your question if you're asking about the specific contact, the contact link. Also, we know that the first time we sent that email, the contact link was broken. We followed up with a second email giving you all the correct link, but that's what I'll be using to respond to those who asked that question.
And just as a clarifying, just to clarify, for the self-assessment, you are not required to upload any documentation. You only select the sources of evidence and you justify why you selected those. Okay, so you basically describe or explain why you selected those, but you do not need to upload anything for the self-assessment. We will let you know when you need to upload documentation for the SSP, for the strategic support plan. And that's for the activities that you chose, not for the self-assessment. I know this may be confusing, but believe me, we will guide you through this process. And please ask as many questions as you have.
We have one more question. Can you clarify if we need goals for each category that has a DL of 3 or 4, or do we get to choose the section?
You may choose, if you have, let's say, 5 of them, you may work on 2 or 3 of them that you believe will help maybe the other areas, or that you know your LEA needs more work on. So you feel free to choose 2 or 3 with the highest performance levels, PL levels. And again, the meetings are only for DL3s and DL4s, not for DL2s or DL1s. If you completed the self-assessment and you are a DL2, you will not be meeting with us. The initial meeting, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The initial meeting email came from SPM, which is the email address that you see on the screen right now.
Quick clarification, if you typed in names or contact information in the boxes for questions, that is not how you submit the contact information. You will fill in the contact information form, and that form, we only need one per LEA. That form will have your superintendent, the person designated for RDA, and then the people who direct or coordinate the different programs. So again, I'll keep replying to those messages with the link in which you will provide us with the contact information. We will not take contact information from the chat or the questions and answers.
And regarding the initial and monthly meetings, we highly encourage for the initial meeting to have the program director or the person responsible for the bilingual or the OSP programs and the DCSI. After the initial meeting, only the program director should suffice for those meetings, or the person responsible for the activities regarding the SSP. And the presentation we'll send it in the afternoon. So please give us a few hours and we'll forward this to anyone that registered. If you completed the contact link, I don't think you received a confirmation. Did they, Mara? That would only be for the booking.
Bookings is designed to send you a confirmation email that you have booked time with us.
No, I'm sorry. I was
The
referring to the
email wouldn't
contact
come from
form.
us.
No, Mara, regarding the contact form was the question.
Oh, the contact form. When you submit, it won't give you an email confirmation, but you will, when you reach the final and you do the submit, it will give you a message saying thank you for your submission. We appreciate your participation, something of that sort, but it would be on the same link. It wouldn't be an email. If we are DL2 and we decide to complete the self-assessment, do we still need to meet with you in January? No. DL1 and DL2 districts will not meet with us, only DL3s and DL4s.
And how to request access to Ascend, we will be again sending a document that will hopefully guide you through the steps. Again, you first need approval from your LEA before you are approved by the agency. As of right now, there are no mandatory trainings for DL2s or DL1s. And what type of access do we need for Ascend? LEA data entry? That's a very good question.
About access to Ascend. Within your district or charter school, the superintendent's office is who gives you access to Ascend within your organization. So find out who, if not the superintendent, who's the designee that would have access to that. My best recommendation would be let the superintendent secretary know that you will be needing this access. He or she will know who that person is that will provide you the rights. It expires. So if you request access to Teal or to Ascend within your organization, you need to let someone know that you're looking for that approval so they can give you the approval from within. Once you have your district's approval, then you should be able to see the self-assessment and the documentation that has been assigned to your LEA.
And if you are a DL3 and DL4 this year, it doesn't mean that you will be, I'm answering one of the questions. It doesn't mean that you will be monitored again. We just saw a district that went from a DL4 to DL2 this year. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you will be monitored again next year if you were monitored this year.
Do we schedule a meeting for DL3? Yes, you do. Do all members of the team attend the first initial and all monthly meetings?
Yeah,
That would be
we
our recommendation, that it's all the people that you want to involve that would be able to answer the questions. Do we need 10 people in each meeting? No. However, if you have the required documentation, as we keep moving forward in the process, it's always best practice to have the person who is in charge of that specific process to be the one answering the questions.
and as you can see, we have the booking link there. Thank you, Ms. Lopez. And we have the contact form. Thank you, Robert. We will be looking at the LEAs to make sure that all of you have registered for, or not registered, booked one of an initial meeting. And if not, we will be reaching out via the contacts in the contact form. So it is very important to please respond to the contact form.
One more question about Ascend. Can you please clarify how we request access? And then Amy, thank you so much for answering that question. Yes, you will need data entry access. If you request view only, you would not be able to upload documents or answer the questions. So make sure, Amy, you are correct to request that data entry access when you're putting in your teal request. Trainings mandatory for DL2. There's no mandatory trainings for DL2. Today's training was mandatory for DL3s and 4s, but we so appreciate that you're here if you're a DL2.
And the last one that we have, Mara, when should we expect the email to calendar the initial meeting? You have received the email already, or the people in that we saw for bilingual ESL in your LEA, Mr. Ramos. But if you do not see the email, please look at the link that Ms. Lopez sent, and there you should be able to book your initial meeting. And if you have any questions regarding the data, the determination levels, the performance levels, please send us an email and we will forward that email to the appropriate people that are responsible for the data. Performance level of 0, typically, the performance level works for a 0 is a good level, if you can put it that way. Then as you increase, the higher the performance level, the more help you need in that particular area. So the lower the better, the higher the number, the more help you may need in that particular area. You do not need more than one root cause. You may put 5, you may put 1, as long as it makes sense. And it's please make sure you write complete sentences. Again, we're not looking for paragraphs or essays, just as long as it actually makes sense. And the activities, they need to be activities that will help you improve the outcomes, your student outcomes. Again, it doesn't need to be 20 different activities, but we will definitely expect more than one activity to improve student outcomes. Do we have any more questions? We'll give you a minute to see if there's another question.
How can I receive the bookings link to schedule the monthly meetings? And I think you probably already answered this, Raul. We currently have January open to make sure everyone gets in for the first meeting. Shortly, we will open up the following months. We just don't want anyone to schedule their first meeting late into February. So we wanted to make sure we only open January to make sure we get everyone we have to meet with initially. And then slowly but surely we'll keep opening the rest of the meetings.
All right, well, if we don't have any more questions, we thank you for your time. Thank you all of the LEAs and the ESEs that joined this meeting, and we have another question. Shoot, the contact form,
Thank
just
you
one
so
per
much.
LEA, please. And just want to make sure, yes, only one contact form per LEA.
And then that is correct. If you submit one form, you made a mistake and you need to submit another one, the newest form will replace the old contact form. So thank you so much for keeping us posted with who all is your superintendent. We know those things change sometimes throughout the school year. We so appreciate you being here with us this morning.
Yes, and Ms. Coggins, that's something we strive to do, samples of how LEAs improve from a DL3 and DL2. We've been outnumbered in personnel, but hopefully we will be receiving more personnel in the future. But we'll look into that, Ms. Coggins. So thank you again, all of you, for being here, for participating, and for your questions. If for some reason we did not respond to your question because we did not see it or you're not satisfied with the response, please reach out, send us an email. And if we need to have a phone call conversation or a Zoom meeting, we'll do that. So thank you again for your time. And we are definitely here to help you with this process. Take care, all of you. We'll see you soon.